What's up, everybody? It's your boy Jamil coming to you again from Into the Void Sounds of Silence. As always, let's take our commemorative breath and be here and present in the moment. Now we are here. Today's topic is about centrism. Centrism. I am a very, very big believer in balance. I believe balance is the highest form of energy. I believe balance is the highest expression of life. I believe balance is the highest form of being because you are always in a state of fulfillment and desire. And that gives you exactly what you need to create. I love the Swedish national word, lagom. It's like Goldilocks zone. Like, not too hot, not too cold, just right. I like that. I believe in that. I live by that. Lagom. Just right. Even the word itself is like it's like it sums it lagom. It sums itself up. Um, that's centrism to me, and I am specifically speaking on concentrism. There's a couple other isms I'm going to get into, but we're going to focus on concentrism. Concentrism means having a common center, concentric circles, the concentric layers of reality, of life, of humanity. What is the power of concentrism? It's a it's not a buzzword, it's not a common topic. I don't really hear too many people speak on it, or I haven't really come across too much content about it. Maybe I should up my game in content research, but that's just another room and another space for me to grow in, and I'm cool with that. But concentrism or concentricity is a beautiful topic because it gives all of us a similar or same end goal, a similar or same point of focus, area of focus. It doesn't mean that we're all the same, literally, but it does identify what about each of us is the same, and that the process of our growth and the process of our change and the process of our evolution is entirely similar, and we're just at different stages of expanding from that common center. Some of us have journeyed 10 evolutions away from that common center. Some of us have journeyed one evolution away from that common center. The beautiful thing about having a common center is that the only difference is exactly what is placed at the center of that common center, exactly what is placed on that common center, exactly what is placed around that common center will determine how, when one examines reality from without that center, how far they have to go outside of it to fully grasp what is at the center, at the core of their life, of their reality, and how to expand that out further into humanity and the world in general. Concentrism is A very beautiful, beautiful topic. If you want to know like what's a visual of it, it's just a arrow target, just like the target, just like the target. That's all it looks like. You got the center, and then you got circles around it, and each one of them are an evolution of whatever is at the center of that circle. And each evolution is meant to protect the core. See, we find it that evolution means we're escaping what we once were. No, evolution is to protect what you are currently and to evolve into a space where now you can move into a different environment, protected as you've always been, protected what you've always known yourself to be, and discovering what else is there to be discovered about what was already there at the core. Concentrism is indicative of the evolutionary process of realizing what was always there that needed a trigger or an event or a moment or a circumstance or situation to awaken it and make it arise for us to expand into a higher awareness. The form is at its highest in the center. But as you expand from that center, the awareness is heightened. And now you become more and more aware as you are able to gaze upon your very own center. See, we were all born naked and afraid. And at each of our core, that is our center. We were born naked and afraid, vulnerable in every way. And at our core as humans, each of us are frighteningly vulnerable. And through concentrism, have we expanded outside of that vulnerability and developed strength and developed faith and developed belief and developed wisdom and intellect, poise and cunning, science, art, style, community, all movements, motions, and actions taken by man to protect himself from vulnerability. Because being vulnerable is scary, just as it was when you were a baby and you were unsure whether or not your needs could be met, whether or not your needs would be met, because you were unable to meet them alone, because you were unreliable alone. But the funny thing about vulnerability that we often forget as we expand from that common center is that because of that very vulnerability, everything in your reality at that moment is serving you completely and fully and without fail. Everything. And even as I speak about this common center we all share, I am also speaking for those that are barred from these experiences of having a community to fully take care of them when they are most vulnerable. Because this topic is so beautiful for the very reason of concentrism creating the evolutionary capacity of man. And because at this very common center, those who did not have the liberty or the freedom to experience the servitude of reality to the vulnerability of the humanity, they were made to evolve rapidly in response to that lack of service, to that lack of needs being met, to that lack of care. and they were able to expand out earlier and see earlier that they are vulnerable and that they must grow now, and that the limits placed on them, if they were to be served in such a way that they could remain in that vulnerable state just a tad bit longer, they developed the ability to speak, the ability to reason, the ability to learn quickly through that very vulnerability. And that vulnerability is all based and centered in concentrism. Concentric circles. At the core is vulnerability, and everything without that circle is an expression and expansion of man's uncomfort with his own vulnerability. Now, what does that have to do? Like, okay, cool, vulnerability, concentrism, all right. It has to do with our flaw, our fatal flaw, is to not accept what is at that core, is to continue to look at what's at that core and not inflect on it, but to reflect on it and run from it. But we must begin the process, this new and very true process of inflecting. Inflecting on our own vulnerability. Inflecting on our own need and our own needs that must be met through our concentrisms, through the walls that we put up that still make us very, very vulnerable. And if not, obviously, in its indications that we are uncomfortable with that vulnerability. And we must learn to allow the ways in which our concentric circles expand, acknowledge the next and the way that their concentric circles expand out from the desire to no longer be vulnerable. And we must make a comfort of vulnerability and use it as our greatest strength to be forthcoming, to be fully in the sensitivities that man has, not as a weakness and not as a shame, but as a positive power for us to create a world in which we can understand one another without speaking. Because our greatest strength is turned on. Our greatest power is turned on. Our greatest wisdom is turned on. Only we, only humans, play the game with half of their hand behind their back and call it life. Only humans hide their fortune from their own eyes. Only us. Nothing else. Only us. Only we hide our hearts and hope it beats. Only we hide our minds and hope it creates. Only we hide our pain and hope we change. Only we do these things. And it's so interesting because we all know we can't hide because we are all concentric. We all come from the same core, naked and afraid. And you are naked and afraid at all times to those with the eyes to see and ears to hear. At all times, you are clearly seen. At all times, you are clearly known. And at all times, must you allow that to be true, or you will begin to deceive yourself and the world around you because you fail to inflect on your own vulnerabilities. Your power will never be found in evading your vulnerability or evading vulnerability itself. Your power will always be found in embracing it, embodying it, emboldening it, and inscribing it into a stronger form within, expanding from within. Concentricity from within, pulling those concentric circles that you're expanding without and expanding them within, and allowing your core to be at the forefront of reality. If anybody and anything comes to hit, your inner strength will show up because it's always there. Because you're growing it, expanding it, emboldening it through vulnerability with others, with the world, with your ideas, with your passions, with your goals, with your dreams. You're expanding it out from within. And you're remaining sensitive to everything that you're being given in every moment because you are always receiving when you allow yourself to stand at the core, to stand at the ore, to stand at the center. And then and only then can you enter into the kingdom that awaits you. So reflect that core to the world and inflect that ore to yourself, and you will move forward. I promise. It's all that simple. We make it more complicated than it is, and it's just not. It simply isn't. I pause a lot because I talked for effect. They say don't speak unless you have something to say, and I have plenty to say. But I know that concentrism leaves us in a place where we realize that everything that we're putting around us to protect us is just a wall that is going to destroy us once it collapses on us and our vulnerability is shown. So it's better to lead with that. And whatever comes, stand in it, stand on it, and stand through it. Because with concentrism and concentricity, you can do it. As always, peace and love from up above. Be wise as serpents and sweet as doves.